So I'm out at the beach today. Got another nice sunny day. Although I'm sure there'll be some people in the comments to say that really there's massive chemtrails behind me and this is just CGI or something like that. So I'm at the beach and this is going to be my first dip into the water this spring. Ooh. And it's not too bad, But the water here is actually quite shallow. So it'll heat up pretty fast because at the moment already it's not, it's dark for about 2 or 3 hours a night, that's all. So the rest of the time the sun just goes round in a circle, so the water heats up really quick. So like a month ago this was still frozen. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about that. What I am here to talk about is an interesting concept that I heard over the weekend. And the concept is, I think I'm getting this right, is the NPC Truther. Yeah. So let's pin some of this down, right? So a truther, I guess, would be somebody who doesn't regurgitate lies. So they're not a repeater station for the likes of the BBC. Instead, when presented with lies, they will counter the lies and speak up with the truth. And for me, I've never really liked this kind of word, truther, because I just think it's a bit clumsy and ugly. But as a Christian, somebody who follows the teachings of Jesus Christ, Jesus kept on telling us that we should tell the truth, and we should, even if this means that we end up being persecuted as a result of telling the truth. And I'm definitely in that category. I don't know how much further I can go walking now because it's nearly up to my knees. Sure, if anyone can actually enlighten me on this, but did the term truther actually come from, is it a David Icke-ism? Right, the other phrase, NPC, non-player character, so that's this reference to computer games where you have a character that's not in the game, that's pre-programmed and is not controlled by any of the humans playing the computer game. So, yeah, that's self-evident what that is. And I guess that many people during the Divok, they acted as NPCs. They just, I suppose another thing that I've said is I've used the phrase, well, apart from people's pantomime, I use the one live action role play, because that's what they used to do at school. The last school that I worked at, they were really big on, like, let's pretend to act out a particular situation, as a live, go into character and do your live action role play. So, a lot of doctors were like NPCs, weren't they? And a lot of people, teachers even that I knew, they acted as NPCs by just using these medical terms that they really didn't have a clue about. So can you have an NPC truther? Because the two seem sort of contradictory, don't they? Well, I guess you could say there's levels of enlightenment, isn't there, within the truther community. So you could think about maybe people that understood the PCR 91 people's pantomime. So that might be the entry level of truth. Then, you'll get people who, they understood PCR 91, and they also understood maybe the Slava Ukraine, let's call it nonsense, yeah? So maybe they passed 2 of those tests. But then, when it's come to Israel, Palestine or whatever, they've done exactly what the Satanists want, in that they've picked one of their sides. They've lacked that discernment to understand that actually both the sides, both the so-called Israeli, some might call it Zionist, whatever, Zionist is actually how it's properly pronounced, by the way. So they might have they've not understood that the Palestine, the Hamas and and the Israeli government, well, like, who funds Hamas? Where did all of that come from? Answer: it's basically the same group of people, yeah. So, but they failed that one, right? So there's levels. So you could say, well, you know, there might be some non-player characters in that they kind of swallowed the PCR 91. Very, they were happy to go with that, but and they were happy with the Slava Ukraine calling that nonsense out, but they kind of fell for the Israel-Palestine thing, and they've enthusiastically backed one of the sides. And as I've said like loads and loads of times, that their number one objective is divide and rule. If they can get us fighting amongst ourselves, they can get on with what they want to do, which is basically try to control and dominate us. So, you know, you could say that there are some people who they're more enlightened within this sort of truther community. So I think that's something that I would say about. There are some truthers who you know, they've not really gone very far on their journey, and the other thing that I would say too is that they're quite ignorant. I had one on my channel making a comment going on about the Balfour Declaration after World War II, you know. So obviously this is somebody that, and again, many of these people making the accusations of the NPC Truther, they sort of, you know, make out that they've done loads of research, but then they'll get some basics like that. They'll just show their ignorance. Same with like chucking words around like Zionist. Like I've been accused of being a Zionist, right? So by people that quite clearly don't know what Zionism even is. So I'll explain that now. Right, so a Zionist is somebody that believes that there should be an Israeli state, a state for Israeli Jews, based in Israel, right? So the whole thing is based around the nation state, which basically is implying a government, isn't it? So am I a Zionist? Simple answer: no. And those of you who have kind of watched some of my videos, you'll understand why. And the reason is that I'm a libertarian, so I don't believe in the state. I don't believe in any state. I don't believe in government. Again, you've got people, you know, in the truther community who quote Mark Passio, but it's as if they've never watched or listened to anything that he's ever said, because Mark Passio, like me, has adopted a fundamentally libertarian mindset. So all the problems in the world emanate from government. Government is fundamentally immoral because government is based on coercion, right? So, and force, ultimately. If you don't comply with the government's request to pay them the money that they say you owe them, they throw you in a cage. So government isn't based on voluntary action, it's based on compelled, coerced exchange. So for me, like the whole idea of a government, whether it's a British government or an Israeli government, I don't believe in any of that stuff. I believe that society is capable of self-organising itself through basically what economists would call the invisible hand of the market. So I'm not going to go into that now because I've done that before. But and people, you know, who say, oh, I do loads of research. Well, they need to do like a little bit of research, because if they don't understand that there's an alternative to the big government model and they're in the truther community, then we're in big trouble, basically. If they can't envisage an alternative way of organising society based on voluntary action and personal freedom, i.e. the very opposite of government, then yeah, as I say, we're in big trouble. The other kind of blind spot that I've often seen with these people as well is that they fail to recognise the spiritual dimension. So they're kind of like New Agers in the senses that they'll talk about I don't know, like vibration or something, or the source, or but there's no depth to it. Like, so what is vibrating? What do you mean by the source? And at the same time, they're kind of like militantly atheist. So they're very, very hostile towards any religious scripture whatsoever, or just basic morality. They don't talk about natural law, for example. If they did, and they'd read, let's say, some of these religious scripts, they would become more enlightened. They would be more useful in this struggle against evil that we've got. But basically, they're like people who have very, very strong opinions about a film that they've never even seen, they've never even watched. And this is what it's like. You can't have a strong opinion about a book that you've never even read properly, And what I would advise these people to do is maybe start off with some Mark Passio, actually understand the 7 principles of natural law, actually understand, and maybe do some podcasts about that, maybe do some self-work on that yourself. So I want to see some of these other kind of truther channels levelling accusations. I want you to do some work, do some videos for me about the 7 principles of natural law. I've done some. Now it's your turn, right? Because you're the guys that are hurling the accusations around. So, and then once you've done that, maybe try reading one of the 4 Gospels of the New Testament, and then do a compare and contrast. Maybe do some podcasts about that. About what are the similarities between the principles, the 7 principles of natural law, and what Jesus Christ actually said. If you're missing out on the spiritual dimension to this, you're not much use to us. You're just, I don't know, shallow entertainment, and that might be enough for you, but it's not going to be enough to put things right. Again, what you need to do is to listen to Mark Passio about what he says is needed in order to rectify the situation that we've got ourselves in. And also, again, for the NPC Truther is to understand that the world that we live in is, the nature of it is shaped by our own actions, by our own choices, and to appreciate the role of free will, that we were all born with free will. But that's all I want to say today, so God bless.